we're getting close to the end of the week, but
Yeah.
again, hype cycle, news cycle. All right, just what we need. Hey, guess what? Is there an open source trade war a brewing?
Is there?
I don't know, but there was an article on Reuters this week on the open source software braces for a trade war. Okay.
Okay.
And this is all about potential new sanctions on China because, as you know, there's been some talk, will China support Russia and provide weapons? And then the U.S. was like, oh, we're going to sanction you. And okay. So it's an interesting premise, and this has been talked about before. Okay, because there are certain countries which are blocked from things like GitHub and certain, open source repositories, open source things. North Korea, for instance, Iran, other ones have been blocked and can't contribute code or use those repositories. They'll get around it. I mean, just use a VPN and then all of a sudden like, woohoo, look, I'm still doing what I need to do. But if, big open source projects are forced or, compelled in some way to block Chinese access, what does that mean for the open source side of things, and how will that play out? And one of the things in this particular article, they talked about China's already been developing like their alternatives to US based systems, right? So they
already have them. It's not even that they're being developed, like they already exist.
Then you have two code repositories for the exact same open source software potentially.
The pedantic person in me will say Git is already a decentralized version control system.
It's true.
Like yes, the collaboration on it may take place in two different places potentially, but like China already, there's already their own version of Stack Exchange and Quora and all, like they have their own places online where open source development happens. This doesn't seem new to me. But GitHub, I think, is definitely like a more serious, has more serious implications because GitHub does act as that single source of truth for, what this project is. It's almost a fork if you are going to be like collaborating on it somewhere else. So I guess that's kind of an interesting thing there. Like, I guess if there were multiple forks of a given piece of software that had like a lot of use, but those forks were collaborating very closely, could be interesting.
Hard to say how much collaboration will happen, but I mean, it's
probably not a lot.
It's an interesting debate, right? Anyways, it was one person's. It's an opinion piece. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it was worth mentioning because again, now we've got like economic changes that are causing some consternation. We've got the security vulnerabilities, and we've got all these other things that we've talked about in the open source space already. So, a lot of potential kind of like gut punches. Potentially out there.
Very true. Although I don't, I think even with a lot of these gut punches that we were talking through them, we're like, well, are they really gut punches? Like,
or is it just a misunderstanding?
Really.
Is it just like,
I think a lot of them seem to be sensationalizing trends that were either already existing or
well, it could be a sensational. Yeah.
I mean, I think of all those things, like the layoff situation is legitimately very tough to watch, and it's tough to see ultimately, and we wish the best for everyone who's being impacted by that, experience that, etc.